Hello, everyone. I'm just going to wait one more minute while people start coming on in. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so welcome to today's Hot Java and HR Topics. My name is Cassie Crittenden. I am the HR specialist here at JPIA. Typically, you have Tony Waterford, our HR manager here, giving the introduction. He is on vacation, so I am happy to step in today. So a few reminders before we get started. Here is our upcoming schedule. So of course, today we have Backgrounds Online. We have Seth Atchue, who will be doing the presentation in a few minutes. In March, we are doing the California paid sick leave rules. I will do that presentation in March. Just a couple of things have changed with California paid sick leave effective January 1. So I'm going to go over those changes and really just give a broad overview of what the paid sick leave is and what you should be aware of. And it's already on the training calendar, the March Hot Java, so you can jump on there and register anytime. And of course, our disclaimer, whatever you hear from Hot Javas, we're really meant here to just give you some best practices and recommendations. Nothing in these is legal advice. So if you do want to implement anything at your district, make sure you're always checking in with your attorney, your general manager, and getting that authorization prior to. And of course, the session will be recorded. So if you want to share it with anyone at the end, I'll have that up on our website on the HR side. And then everyone should have received the handouts today. They were emailed this morning. Otherwise, Sarah will put them in the chat for you. So, of course, and if you don't see them in the chat to your email, you're welcome to email training@aquagpa.com to get the handouts. Okay, so at the end of the presentation today, there will be time for Q&A. So a couple of things, just make sure you stay muted during the presentation. And at the end, you can use the chat button. You should see it on the bottom of your screen. If you don't see it, then click on the more icon with the little 3 buttons, and you should be able to click chat, and that should open up that chat window. And just make sure you are selecting to all participants so we can see your questions and help answer those. And we have a podcast. So this is just a reminder to check us out. We have, they're meant to be really short. They're 15, 20 minutes, meant to kind of listen to on your way to work or when you're taking a walk. Different employees here at JPI have jumped on, and you just really get to learn a little bit more about what we do here and what we do for our members. So check us out. The podcast information is on our website. And our regional HR group meeting. So if you've ever participated, they're a lot of fun. We usually get some really great speakers, and it's really a time for us to connect and network with each other. So we're trying to plan our next one, and so we need your help. If there's anything specific you would like to learn more about, email us, give us some ideas. If you would like us to present at your location, let us know. And would you like to be a presenter? In the past, some of the most powerful presentations have been from members of our water districts. And so if there's anything you're doing that you want to share with others, maybe you have a new onboarding process or succession planning, then we would love to have you on to present to your peers. So just let us know. And we do have some upcoming virtual classes to let you know about. So February 27th, we have the 1-hour sexual harassment prevention It's virtual on Zoom. It is required every other year for your staff. Managers have the 2-hour training, but this one is the 1 hour for staff. So if your staff need it, have them log on to the training calendar and register. And on March 7th, we've partnered with Antoinette Joy from CPS HR. And so if you're in charge of writing policies or procedures, you'll want to jump on this class as well and learn how to do it a little bit better. And again, everything's on that training calendar to register. And last but not least, of course, we want your feedback for these hot Javas, especially since we moved to Zoom. You know, how was the registration process? Did you hear us okay? And of course, did the presentation meet your expectations? What other ideas do you have? So at the end, when you click out of Zoom, the survey will pop up. So if you could please take a moment to fill that out and be entered in to win a gift card as well. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and introduce Seth Atchue from Backgrounds Online. So JPIA has partnered with Seth for about 5 years. It's been a really, really great partnership. And so I asked Seth to join us today. There's been some updates to the laws, and he's going to give just some general reasons why you need to do background checks and how to do it properly. So with that said, Seth, the baton has been passed to you. So
thank you, Cassie. Yeah, let me thank you, everyone. Good morning and happy Friday Eve. I am Seth Atchue. I'm the Director of Business Development here with Backgrounds Online. And I am excited to be here chatting with you about some recent law updates. And I appreciate JPIA allowing me to do that with you today. And so I am going to share my video and share my screen and hop in here with you right now. Okay, well, again, good morning, everyone, and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to listen to my presentation. Today's agenda, we are going to talk about some California law updates. Actually, looks like my screen may have. Hold on one second. I apologize. Cassie, can you still hear me?
Yeah, everything's good. I see
Okay,
your presentation.
It looks like it froze up, so I apologize. So today's agenda, today we're going to briefly talk about who is Backgrounds Online. We'll review your background screening process, and then how to remain compliant with the new laws such as AB 2188, expungement, using AI, and the ADA. And then we'll go over the new Fair Chance Act requirement that have been added to ban the box laws, and then we'll define compliance, and then finally how to keep in touch. Again, a quick disclaimer, this presentation is for informational purposes only. Nothing in this presentation should be relied on as legal advice. Consult a qualified attorney for legal advice, and then the contents of this presentation are only as current as of the date of this presentation. Well, to kick it off, who's Backgrounds Online? Well, we like to think we're an awesome group of people who take a lot of pride in truly acting as your partner within the screening process. We want to be more than just a vendor. We want to be a partner through your whole process as our client and as our partner like JPIA is. We're a service first company. So what that means is if you call us, we're going to answer. And if we don't answer, we're going to get back to you quickly. We are US based. We're actually in downtown Sacramento. We are nationwide, and we're a 20-year leader in the background screening industry, and happy to say that we have been JPIA's preferred screening partner for the past 5 years. Some of our credentials are we are accredited by the Professional Background Screening Association. This is going to confirm that we maintain a strong commitment to consumer protection, legal compliance, product standards, and general business practices. Our team is FCRA compliant and certified. So that's going to mean if you have questions, we're going to get answers for you that are accurate. And then we do go through an annual SOC 2 audit. This ensures that we adhere to the higher standards of security and confidentiality. And this is a voluntary audit that we do complete each year. It is essential for employers to create and maintain written policies that cover background screening. Your policies should specify when background checks will be run either during the onboarding process and/or during annual screening. You want to promote transparency and fairness, define what will be included in the background checks for different positions, include anti-discrimination policies, ensure your process is scalable as you grow, and then share your policies with everyone involved in the hiring process. This is going to help ensure that everybody in your team is on the same page. Now, numerous California bills have recently gone into effect, so it's important to be aware of these laws where you're operating. And I know that you just recently went through a pretty in-depth training on California AB 2188, so I won't get too far into this, but I'll just touch base on what the law is and give you a little perspective from a consumer reporting agency side and some feedback that we've received from clients as this law took effect on 1/1/24. And again, employers may not discriminate in hiring, termination, or any term or condition of employment and otherwise penalize a person for cannabis use off the job and away from the workplace. And now this is based on drug screening tests that determine non-psychoactive cannabis metabolites, such as a hair, blood, or urine test. There are some exceptions, construction trades, federal jobs with security clearance, positions where federal laws require employees to be tested for controlled substances. If you have DOT drivers, this law does not affect those regulations in any way. So for instance, truck drivers that are DOT regulated. And then your organization can choose to test for psychoactive cannabis metabolites, which are also sometimes called the parent drug. So for employers that are going to test for the parent drug, some organizations are considering oral fluid testing to be a good option. And it provides several benefits. It has a shorter window of recent use detection. Typically, it's within minutes, which means this test can help establish whether someone is inebriated during work hours. A good example to use this test would be during post-accident or reasonable suspicion. These tests can be self-administered, so you do not need to send them down to a clinic. You can do it there on site, and then have the test lab to the test sent to the lab. If you don't want to test for THC, it's important to know that a consumer reporting agency or your partner like a Quest will not automatically remove it from the drug test, even here in California. So you're going to want to make sure that you're not using a panel that includes THC, or lets your consumer reporting agency like Backgrounds Online know that you do not want to test for THC. You can also ask your consumer reporting agency to remove the test, omit the test from a panel that does not include THC. The feedback that we're getting from the majority of our clients here in California is they're not going to test for the THC. So Backgrounds Online has taken the steps to add a 4-panel or a 5-panel, but the burden still does fall on you, the client, to make sure that you're using the correct panel when completing drug tests. So consult with your counsel to determine if drug testing is right for your organization. Expungements of records. Californians may now have eligible records expunged. These are typically for actions that have since been decriminalized and are low-level nonviolent offenses. Employers may not consider records that have been sealed, dismissed, expunged, or properly eradicated. So working with an accredited consumer agency demonstrates that they're going to take reasonable steps to only provide current, accurate data, therefore reducing the risks of these mistakes. But it's important to know that CRAs, we don't have the ability to circumvent the situation where an expunged record is incorrectly reported by the courts. But it's important to know that you're working with a consumer reporting agency that's proactive and will have the process to update and deal with these errors if an expunged record does show up on a background check. We are still at the mercy of the courthouses reporting accurately, as well as human error with the court clerk. So if they do land, you want to make sure that those are going to be updated by your consumer reporting agency. The use of AI for background checks and the Americans with Disabilities Act. So how can an employer using AI violate the ADA? When AI screens out a candidate with a disability that can perform the essential functions of the job with a reasonable accommodation, that's a way to violate the ADA. AI makes disability-related inquiries or medical examinations that violate the ADA's restrictions. There's some things that you can do to comply with ADA when using AI decision-making tools. Allow for an opt-out. Provide notice that you're going to be using AI. And then focus on assessments of abilities or qualifications that are truly necessary for that job. And then it's always important to review your vendor compliance as well. And then ultimately, when it comes down to it at the end, decide whether AI generated reports or machine learning with human quality control is the right process for your organization. For backgrounds online here, we have not taken the dive into AI generated reports completely. So we are utilizing machine learning to provide quick results, but we have a team that quality control controls every background check before we distribute it to the clients. Okay, a big one here, the California Fair Chance Act. That's part of a nationwide second chance movement. The ban the box law that attempts to reduce undue barriers to employment for individuals with criminal histories. Now, this isn't a new law. It took effect January 1st in 2018. However, new requirements were added to this process that took effect October 1st of last year, 2023. And these apply to employers with 5 or more employees. And it's going to prohibit employers from asking a job candidate about conviction history before making a job offer, among other requirements. So what you want to know about this, and we'll get into each step here, but employers may not inquire about criminal records on job ads or during initial interviews. And then after extending a conditional job offer, you may run criminal background checks and ask an applicant if they have anything to self-disclose. This can result in a person revealing that they have a criminal record. And we have had clients go with this process to help ensure that they're getting all the potential records found at the courthouses. So that is a good process for you to initiate if you'd like. The steps in the fair chance process, some of these are going to look familiar. However, there are some new ones. So first and foremost, you're going to want to understand the definition of an applicant. Job advertisements and postings, what you can and can't have in there. The interview process, and then making the conditional job offer, the background screening process, and then after that, conducting an individual assessment. And then you're going to either hire or send a preliminary notice to revoke the offer, conduct a reassessment, and then final notice to revoke a job offer. So there's some additional steps here to the previous standard pre-adverse process. And so how is California now defining the applicant? It is a person who has applied for a position. It's an employee who has indicated a desire to be considered for a different position or promotion with the current employer. And it's any employee subject to criminal history review because there's been a change of ownership, management, or the policy or practice updates. So those are the definitions that California, or that's how California now defines an applicant. And the job ads and interviews, new requirements. For the job advertisements and applications, employers are prohibited from including statements like no felons or must have a clean record within any of your recruitment material. Employers may not inquire about a person's criminal history during an initial interview. If a job applicant voluntarily shares their criminal history before a conditional job offer, this information should not be considered until after a conditional offer is made. And then categories like arrests without leading to convictions and referrals to diversion programs are off limits for employers' consideration, irrespective of applicant disclosures. So those are the new additions to the job ads and interviews. And here's a sample conditional offer. It's basically letting the applicant know that before the job offer becomes final, we'll check your conviction history, and then we'll notify you in writing if we consider revoking this offer while reviewing your conviction history. and that the applicant will have the opportunity to respond before it becomes final. So this is a sample conditional job offer letter. I mean, if you don't have one already within your process. Now, the background screening process, this is the same typically for all consumer reporting agencies. You're going to go through the process of selecting the package based on the individual's position, and then it's going to send out an invitation for that individual where they will then consent to the background check. They're going to sign any sort of dynamic state notices, like here in California, depending on if they're working or living in Los Angeles or San Francisco. And then they'll sign the consumer disclosure form, the standalone authorization form, and then they'll enter in their personal information. And this process is the same. It's designed to keep you compliant with state laws and the FCRA. And then once the background check is processed, you'll receive a notification letting you know that background check has been completed. And then you'll be able to review the applicant's criminal history. Now, at this point, typically, you'll have a way to navigate these reports on your dashboard. If a background check comes back clear, you know that there's no information that needs review. However, if your background check includes a record that you might want to review, it'll most likely say something along the lines of needs review, and then you'll be able to review that record. And in many cases, you might decide that a criminal record, it's not relevant to the position and doesn't warrant an adverse action. An example would be if somebody had a DUI 5 years ago, but they're, a receptionist and they're not going to drive company vehicles. Maybe that's not a disqualifier, but you at least know of that record. Now, if a record makes you consider revoking an offer, now you must conduct an individualized assessment before sending out that initial pre-adverse letter. So if, as an employer, if you're considering denying an applicant a job based on the criminal history, you must perform this individualized assessment and consider the nature and gravity of the offense. Now, here's some things for you to consider. It's not limited to this, but the specific personal conduct of the applicant that resulted in the conviction, whether the harm was to property or people, the degree of the harm, the context of which the harm occurred, the offense occurred, and then an important one, how long ago the offense occurred, and whether trauma, domestic or dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking, and other similar factors contributed, and then the age of the applicant when the conduct occurred. So after you do this assessment, if you as an employer still would like to initiate the pre-adverse process, then here is where you will then provide that written notice. You'll provide a copy of the criminal background check report, explain the results of the individual assessment, and then explain that this is a non-final decision to revoke, and then list the convictions that led to the company's preliminary decision. So you send that out, and then you're gonna give the applicant time to respond or dispute. And if the applicant does dispute the report, the consumer reporting agency, like Backgrounds Online, will conduct a reinvestigation according to FCRA requirements. So we will have that done within 30 days. And then we will either retransmit the report if the background check does have incorrect information, or we will then provide an update with notes letting you know that the report is accurate. And then at that point, you as the client must consider the following. A, was there an error in the criminal history report? Is the record accurate, but did the applicant provide any evidence of rehabilitation? Some of this evidence may include documents or other information demonstrating that the applicant attended a school, religious institution, some additional job training, some counseling, or is now involved with the community. And this evidence can include letters from people who know the applicant, such as teachers, counselors, supervisors, clergy, and parole or probation officers. And so if an applicant sends that information to us, we will also then share that with you as the client for review. And then following this reassessment, now you're going to choose to proceed with the adverse action process or not. And if you would like to proceed, then you must send a final notice to that applicant. And here is where you're going to now send that final notice. You're going to provide a second copy of the criminal history report, and then explain that this is a final decision to revoke, and then explain the results of the reassessment. So there's been some steps added to this pre-adverse and adverse process. Just really, California wants to make sure that this individual, is not right for this position. And then a consumer reporting agency like Backgrounds Online, these additional steps are not built into our process, and these forms are not in the resource center. So although we don't have them, there's a link where you can use the Fair Chance Toolkit. I know JPIA is going to make this link available to you as well. They're all the documents and forms that you need to remain compliant with this process are listed here. And so you can find all that information there on civilrights.ca.gov. Okay, and then real quick, defining compliance, the do's and don'ts. You do want to use a consumer reporting agency and not rely on public record websites. They can have information that's outdated and unactionable and can land you in some legal action lawsuits. You want to comply with the Fair Credit Reporting Act and do not run background checks without disclosures or authorizations. Comply with the EEOC and do not discriminate against an applicant or employee. Consider whether conviction is relevant to that position that's sought, and don't turn down anyone with a record. Be aware of state laws, they do change, and do not assume all states have the same laws. We recommend running annual background checks as opposed to just relying on outdated records. And then finally, have your hiring policies reviewed by your counsel, and do not have your hiring policies reviewed by your dog. Those are the do's and don'ts of compliance. And if you like more information on California laws, other state laws around the US, you can visit Backgrounds Online blogs, newsletters. They're always information-based. They're never marketing-based. As a matter of fact, these are the blogs and newsletters that Cassie read and prompted and requested this webinar today. So there's a lot of good information there. If you'd like to stay connected with Backgrounds Online, you can do so online. And then it's important to keep in touch. An accredited CRA can help you navigate through all of your screening and drug screening challenges. Feel free to connect with us. We're happy to help you learn more about how we can improve on your hiring process. And if you're just starting to look into running background checks or you'd like to review your current process, I'd love to start that conversation with you. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Seth. What an incredible presentation. The main takeaway is do your due diligence when doing background checks. And if anything comes up with a conviction, you got quite a few steps to take. I did put in the chat the link for the California Civil Rights Department, which had those sample forms. I also have the link on our website, on our HR side under sample forms. So there is that. And we will do some Q&A. So I think we have one. So Christina, what is the specific reason to run annual background checks other than general best practice?
Well, yeah, there's different reasons. Well, a lot can happen in a year. If somebody does have an offense that comes up, if you do have individuals that are driving vehicles, motor vehicle records is a common one that's run on an annual basis. If you are going through, any sort of SOC 2 audit, it's important to have that for your certification. Insurance, liability insurance reasons, a lot of times we'll request background checks or motor vehicle records. So it's really just to make sure that, the people that are working for you continue to be, on the up and up and safe. So it's not a requirement by any means. It's just purely a recommendation just to make sure that, your individuals are compliant.
Thanks, Seth. And let's see, Stacy, how does an agency go about creating a relationship with Backgrounds Online?
It's easy. Actually, JPIA has a landing page. It's on your website, and I'm more than happy to provide it as well. But you just go to the JPIA landing page, and then there's a link there to create your account. It takes a couple minutes to do. Without getting too much into it, JPIA does have special partner pricing, so you do get that through the organization as well. And then once that's created, we'll have you up and running within 24 hours. So it's nice and simple.
Yeah, thank you, Seth. Yes, it's on our page. It's under onboarding. And then if you scroll down and click on background checks and Backgrounds Online, and I will put the link in the chat just so you have it. But that takes you to a specific landing page for Backgrounds Online for JPI members. So they know that you are one of our members. Okay, any other questions for Seth? Of course, his contact information was on the handout, so feel free to reach out to him or me or training or Tony or anyone if you have any questions. Otherwise, this Hot Java is being recorded and we'll post it on our website. Oh, Stacy has one. Approximately how long does the background check process take? Well, I can tell you from JPIA's point of view, it's so darn easy. I usually get the results in 24 hours. So that's how quick it is for us. But Seth, I can let you answer maybe in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that, Cassie. Yeah, our typical turnaround time is we're shooting for 1 to 3 days. If any of you are here in the Sacramento region or Los Angeles region, you know that sometimes county court delays do happen, but typically, we are still getting you results within a 3-day turnaround time for your criminal records.
Yeah, it's really quick. And what's nice about Backgrounds Online is you have the option to have the candidate complete it. And so literally all I do is type in the candidate's email address and phone number. It sends them an email to complete the background check. They complete it usually the same day that it's emailed out, and I get the results, like Seth said, in 1 to 3 days. So very nice and easy and efficient.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a second.
Yeah, and just I see some from Melissa below. Yeah, if there is a verification added to the background check, there can be some delays with employment verification. So in that case, we're actually looking for like 3 to 5 days, but we're typically our in-house verification team is on that, and we're going to follow up on a regular basis for verifications as well. And then drug screening tests, while we just touch base on that, those can be anywhere from, if it's an instant test, anywhere from 15 minutes to a lab-based test, which is a 3-day turnaround time. If you are doing DOT or anything like that. So that's a turnaround time for drug screening as well.
I think Christina had another one. So if we give the applicant the disclosures and enter the personal information ourselves, is it better to have the candidate handle all the steps?
It just depends on it. That streamlines the process, and that serves up all those documents that you're talking about getting manually. So you don't need to do that. But both you have both options with Backgrounds Online. So if your process is to collect all that up front and you have that, then you can enter in their information on their behalf. But if you're not interested in knowing the candidate's personal information and you don't want to take the time to obtain those documents, the system will do all that for you as well. So we understand that there's both processes.
Great. Thank you, Seth. So Seth and we can hang out for a couple more minutes just in case there's any more questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for taking the time, everyone, to join the Hot Java today, and we'll see you in March.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.